with invisible illnesses realize that you can still lead a pretty healthy and active lifestyle. I know because I was doing it till about a year ago. Unfortunately, I went on a medication that just wiped me out, but I'm determined to rebuild. I've done it before, so I know it's doable. So I'll get there. I'm getting there. Um, a big thing for me, honestly, is the weather. Alaskan winters are hard on healthy people. Alaskan winters are unspeakably brutal when you have two health conditions that are severely impacted by the cold. So, um, yeah, part of my thing is, excuse me, I'm really itchy today. I get out about every 6 to 8 weeks. I get out of town for a little bit and I go down to Texas and I bask in the sunshine. And I started thinking about it last night. Why on earth do I get so anxious before I take a trip? And I've always done this. And I used to just say, well, it's my flight anxiety, but I've managed to conquer that for the most part. So what the hell am I so anxious about? So let's talk about anxiety and some tips on how to deal with it. This information is from the Mayo Clinic and lifehack.org. Well, if you're like me and you didn't realize that you're an anxious person, I really didn't. Um, you may not know what anxiety feels like. Symptoms include fatigue, restlessness, sweats, insomnia. Yes, I do because I lay awake and ruminate. Oh my gosh, what if this goes wrong? What if that goes wrong? Well, what if it all goes right? Funny how we don't go that direction, isn't it? Trembling, hypervigilance. I get like that when I'm flying. I can get very hypervigilant. I cannot sleep when I travel because I'm just too uncomfortable. I don't want to be that vulnerable around a bunch of strangers. Irritability, yeah. Racing unwanted thoughts. Now, before I conquered my flight anxiety, I remember vividly one time a young lady that I know, this was many years ago, I was going to a conference in Southern California, and she's taking me to the airport. And my house isn't that far from the airport, it's a short drive. I had such an anxiety attack in the car that I'm like, oh my gosh. We also get a sensation of a racing, irregular heartbeat. So I have that and the thought, and I'm in this young lady's car, and I'm like, oh my gosh, am I having a heart attack? Do I need to go to the? I know that sounds insane now, but at that moment, I was so worked up. I seriously thought of having her turn off and take me to the emergency room. I just didn't want to miss my trip. But now I know it was just anxiety. And since I learned how to recognize how anxiety impacts me, I can usually head it off at the pass, although I didn't catch it in time. I haven't caught it yet this go around. But what do? You got to deal with it. You're just going to have to deal with it a little bit. You need to understand this too shall pass. You know what? Odds are you're going to be just fine. Don't disregard your feelings. You feel how you feel. And trying to ignore them is only going to make them worse. But just acknowledge it. Okay, so why am I feeling so anxious about this? What's the worst that could happen? But reframe that into what's the best that could happen? What if this all goes right? You need to remember that it's highly unlikely. Whatever it is you're facing, the outcome is really unlikely to have a major impact on who you are as a human being. So take some of the pressure off of yourself. Stop. Take a deep breath. It's just temporary. Number two, you need to learn how to focus inward. If you can learn the signs that you get, because you know what, just because I get the racing abnormal heartbeat and the thoughts, and because I get hypervigilant, that doesn't mean it's going to impact you the same way. Maybe you get really super quiet, but you're very restless and you're sweaty and you're kind of shaky. You got to know how it impacts you before you can't fix a problem that you're not aware of. So you got to learn what your symptoms are, and then you need to find tools. Mantras. I love mantras. Again, people like to laugh at them, but you know what? They work. And one of my favorite mantras, honestly, y'all are going to laugh, just keep swimming. So when I start getting anxious, like, okay, just keep swimming. You got this. I've faced a lot worse things than this before. I can do this. Take some deep breaths. When I fly, that's my magic. I take deep breaths. And if I still can't get rid of my anxiety, I just put on a meditation track until I can let go. But I'll tell you what, I've learned how to manage my flight anxiety to the degree that I used to be unable to fly without. I mean, it was a major ordeal. And I used to take Valium every time I got on a plane. You don't have to anymore because I learned how to do all these things. Um, you need to remember that. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry. I'm trying to watch the time too. I'm like, I've got a sweet spot of just a few minutes here. I'm early because I have an appointment at 11. And now I'm looking at the time. I need to stop rambling. Number 3, you need to give your inner critic the day off. Most of the time when we're anxious, it's because that inner critic is just yapping in your damn ear. What you say to yourself, it's everything. Look, you need to understand the physiological response you get from anxiety is pretty much the same physiological response you get when you're excited. So whereas I used to go to the airport, oh my gosh, what if this goes wrong? What if that goes wrong? And I'm so anxious and I'm so this and I'm so that. Now I'm like, oh my gosh, I am going to have the best time. And yes, it's a long trip to get there, but I'm going to see these people and I'm going to go here. And I just talk myself from, I reframe it. I quit looking at the negative and I start looking at the positive. So you need to give your inner critic the day off. Keep some affirmations handy if that's what works for you. Take a few deep breaths. You need to remember that it's a choice. It's your choice whether you want to feel anxious and stressed out or excited. Maybe you've got to get up and do a public presentation. That stresses a lot of people out. But if you approach it from the perspective of, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to kick ass, and this is going to be so much fun, even if you don't feel that way, it's the same physiological response. So just, as they say, fake it till you make it. Again, what you say to yourself is everything. Number 4, you need to get healthy. Now, obviously, this is not going to have an immediate impact, but you need to get healthy. Exercise reduces stress and anxiety. It builds confidence, which is going to help you with stress and anxiety in the future. It's also a great way to burn off stress. If I have an event or a trip, something that I get anxiety about, I make sure to exercise the day up to burn off some of those feelings. Your nutrition matters. You want to eat, and again, not a quick fix, but eat foods high in vitamin B if you struggle with anxiety. Beef, chicken, nuts, citrus, leafy greens, all those are going to help you out. You need to sleep. You need to fix your sleep. My sleep completely sucks. I have a lot of pain problems. Pain wakes me up, the anxiety. And I'm sure it's not a big surprise to you that when my pain level is up, my anxiety is up. So it can be a hard thing to break, but sleep is important. I started keeping a journal again, and it has been so helpful for me to get my emotions off of my chest. It's not foolproof, and again, it's not a quick fix, but it does help overall. Do some yoga. Start meditating. If you have anxiety, learning how to quiet your mind is the best gift that you can give yourself. Finally, number 5, don't give your power away. Don't give your power away to anybody or anything. I used to give my power away to my fears before I would fly. And I used to look at my trips as how many, this is so sad, how many takeoffs and landings do I need to survive to make it safely back? Well, how do you think my travel experience was when I approached it from that perspective? Look, it's a long trip from Alaska to Texas. And with my health situation, it's a very difficult trip. But I don't focus on that. I focus on I'm going to have so much fun. And I'm going to go hang out with my church family. And I'm going to get to go for walks in the sunshine. I don't get out in the winter here. I don't like the cold. You need to remember to let go of things you can't control. I can't control what's going to happen with the airplane. Everything we do in life requires faith. When you take a step into the street, you're having faith that the drivers around you are going to pay attention. Same thing when you fly. You put your faith There's no point in worrying about these things. Finally, my last point, and I really got to get out of here. You need to remember that other people's opinions of you, they don't matter. They're irrelevant. They only carry as much weight as you choose to give them. The only opinion you should be worried about is your own. The only entity you should be worried about making happy is God. Man's fallible. You're never going to make everybody happy. You will never be everybody's cup of tea. So quit worrying about that crap. Anyway, I have got to go. I hope y'all have a fantastic weekend. Have a wonderful and blessed Easter. And I will be back. I don't know what time Monday because I'll be in Texas, but I'll be back Monday at some point. Y'all have a great